I'm CharlesAnn Raney. This is only my 4th year teaching. I started using Edulastic way back whenever I was a student teacher. So I've actually been using Edulastic longer than I've been teaching. I also do student council at my school in McKinney, Texas, and I also coach the girls golf team as an assistant. So I wear lots of hats, and Edulastic helps me save so much time with my students in class. So I go ahead and go to the next slide. I use Edulastic for a lot of the same reasons that Jessica uses Edulastic. And so I want to share a couple of things. Number one thing that I think is the most beneficial, not just for me, but obviously for my students, is the immediate feedback. And I think that goes for all digital assessment. But Edulastic is just my favorite digital assessment because of that second bullet point, which is the variety of question types. So immediate feedback, that comes a lot of different ways. You could give your students a bubble sheet and then go scan it and be able to give them immediate feedback that way, but it's not the same as having all of the data and everything that Edulastic provides. So it's my favorite immediate feedback. Here is my Edulastic. Go here. So I'm not quite as organized as Jessica with all of my assessments, but I do love to create assessments. I mostly use Edulastic for formative assessments. Our tests we usually do on paper still right now, but I know that all tests are going digital, whether, I think people have different opinions about that, but whether you love that or not, tests not just in school, but tests to certify you for your jobs are all going digital. And so I think that tests are something that we should be preparing our students to take online. And so I use this for formative a lot right now, but I see us maybe using it more for our summative assignments in the future to prepare our students for STAR tests like Jessica was talking about. But these are some of my assessments. I want to share this quadratic transformations one specifically to show one of my favorite question types, which is a graphing question type. This is new. We used to only have linear graphing, but something that I always wanted to be able to assign my students was like a quadratic question type. And so recently I was so excited to be able to assign transformations of quadratic equations. And so the students just click on the parabola, and this is a transformation where this parent function would move down 6 if you're not familiar with the math there, and they would be able to just graph that. And I could either give them the option to check their answer and get really fast immediate feedback, or obviously they would get feedback at the end of the assessment. And so not having to go through and grade a million graphs and count and make sure that they put their parabola 6 down from the parent function saves me so much time, and they absolutely love being able to know if they're on the right track right away. So that's one of my favorite question types. Let me find some others. I'm just going to go to new test, and we'll just create one, and we'll just call it test. So I teach grade 9, so I'll just put that and put math. I will say that I obviously have my experience with all the math question types, but I've presented Edulastic at my campus, and a lot of the teachers that come back so excited about it are not from my department. And so if you are new to Edulastic, I really encourage you to just get on and go through all of the question types on your own and just kind of play with it. I think that's the best way to learn any digital tool. But let's say I want to add a new item, create an item. I like to create. Obviously, you could just choose from the questions that are already there, but I like to create. And let's see, on the math section, one of my favorites is the expression and formula. If I wanted my students to, let's see, solve, and then I have, an equation, let's make them distribute and solve, like this. I don't know what the answer really would be, but let's just say this has a great, great, great math keyboard. And so you can type any type of math that you would ever need in pre-cal, calculus, algebra 2, any of that. And their expected answer here, you can change their keyboards. But my favorite part is, we'll just do the basic. If their answer is like x plus 2, this is a pretty simple one, but the evaluation settings is amazing for math teachers, because if you wanted them to simplify, you have options for fractions, expression forms. I don't want to bore you if you're not a math teacher, but if you want them specifically to enter, you know, certain types of, everything's in here. I was helping an Algebra 2 teacher one day who was looking for, I think this, they were doing domain and range or something, and they needed to make sure that everything was in interval notation. And I said, it's in there. You just have to find the right checkbox. And so you just kind of can go through here and make sure that their answer is going to be graded exactly the way you want it to be graded. And sometimes for me, that means leaving it where it's going to evaluate all mathematically equivalent expressions the same. Like, I want x is greater than 2 to be correct, but I also want 2 is less than x to be correct. And sometimes you want it to look exactly a certain way. So it just is amazing that you have so many evaluation settings for math. I think I saw someone said in the chat that one, oh, I have to enter that test name again. One amazing feature, and I use SnapQuiz a lot if I already have a PDF of an assessment made, but another thing you can do is take screenshots of an assessment you already made. So I'll show that. I recently did this where I think I still had it as an expression and formula, but you can enter so many like special things into your question. And so sometimes in a hurry, I might just add an image. And if I've already taken like a snippet of my assessment like this, or actually, I guess this was already in multiple choice. You could just screenshot your assessment and add in pictures, and then you don't have to type the math. You can add video, tables, images, links. I think I've added a video before into a question, but there's just an insane amount of features there. And so I remember in my student teaching that I was excited about Edulastic, and at this time I was also overwhelmed with how many features there are. I think a lot of teachers have that same feeling when they start to go through all of the different question types. So I don't want to go through every single one, but I know that if you have some time to kind of play around, if you dream it, I feel like Edulastic can do it. Let's see. Oh, SnapQuiz. I guess I'll show that. So I'll cancel this one. Let's just go back here. Another thing I do that I think this is really helpful for teachers of all subjects is the SnapQuiz option. If you've never used this before, I'll show it really quickly. I will upload this one. This is like what me and my team regularly use on our campus, is a PDF that would look a lot like this. And so I'll just call it GCF. I want to show how easy it is here. So if you're a teacher that already has like a whole Google Drive or some kind of curriculum setup where you have a lot of PDFs, they've improved SnapQuiz where you can upload the PDF, and there used to be less question types here. But if you are needing to do like math or any other type of question type and just add it to your, let's do the math one, assessment, then you can type in whatever the answer would be like to number 1. You're putting me on the spot here. That would be like 3x and then x plus 3. No, I did that wrong. 3x, 2x plus 3. You can just add that question to a PDF and be done in seconds and assign this to your students. Yeah, so I talked about math-friendly keyboards. PDF, I think this works really well for everyone. I think the history teachers at my school were most excited about like just being able to upload a picture of like a map. They use like the labeling question type, which I haven't used as much, but let me go to that. That was a favorite at my campus. Once again, there's so many items like already made, like those assessments that Jessica made, but if you want to create and align it with something that your team is already doing, if you're already very organized and you already have kind of questions that you want, but you just want to make it like digital and easier to assign to your students and easier to grade, there's all these question types. I think, Eliana, do you know where that, like some of this has been reorganized for like the labeling thing that
Yeah, go to fill in the blanks.
Fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my favorite among history teachers. I know we're focusing on math because that's our experience, but
we do have a lot of math teachers in the audience too, so they
okay,
are loving what you're sharing from.
Good. Yeah, but basically, like any assessment that I could think of making digital and making question types that are not just like that basic multiple choice. It seems like I've always been able to find a way to do the coolest question types in Edulastic. And so there's so much here, but I really think that that's something that everyone should like just play with. It's better to do that. So I also want to share what was I going to say? I guess I'll just share. This is kind of something that Jessica already showed, but this is an assessment. This is what it would look like. And this updates in real time. So as I assign this to my students, I can see their name and each question individually, but I can also see how they're doing as a class and it updates live. Something that I did, my cooperating teacher, whenever I was student teaching, showed me that he would like minimize this window all the way to just the live class board. And he would put this on his presentation screen, like on his projector, and let the kids see how they were doing as a class as they went. That was before like check answer was a thing on Edulastic. Edulastic is always improving. If you're wanting a feature that's not already on there, it'll probably come. But back then, 5 years ago, we didn't have the option to let our kids check their answer on each question, but he would put this live class board up on his board, and some of the kids would figure out to go through their test really fast and be the first one up there to see how they were doing. But it also was so helpful later as the kids got through an formative assessment. They would look up and they would see, okay, like a lot of people are missing 5, 6, and 7, and everybody's taking a lot of time on number 6. And they would use this data just like we do as teachers and be looking and then looking back at their paper and going back over those questions and checking them. And so that's something that I still use from my cooperating teachers. Sometimes I'll put this live class board up on the screen, and a warning, once you do it once, your kids are going to ask every time you do a formative assessment, or if you do a test like this, can you put our progress up on the screen? Because they love being able to see how they're all doing. And so that was really helpful and fun whenever I first learned that from him. The other thing that I don't know if Jessica talked about this, but the other amazing thing about Edulastic is being able to redirect. And so if, gray eraser brings me his paper and says, I missed these 2 questions, but I know exactly why, and I just entered them incorrectly, then you can just go onto Edulastic and click the check mark on that student's little box and click redirect. And then you have a bunch of options for when you want their new close date to be and what you want them to see, all of the questions or just the ones that they got wrong. And then if you want to leave them feedback, I wanted to click on green eraser first and go in and put feedback on the individual questions that he missed. You know, if I know why he got 6 instead of 24, then I could give him some feedback in this. And does that not let me right now, Eliana, because I'm in the present mode, I wonder?
It might.
Okay. I haven't tried that before.
You should be able to grade when you're on this mode, which allows you to grade anonymously, which is kind of nice. But it could be something else.
Okay.
It's hard to do these things on the spot.
Yeah. Well, usually, you know, you'd be able to leave feedback here. And so then when you redirect, if you want to redirect where they can see that feedback, then that might be something to help them see what happened between their answer and the correct answer.
I see that your assessment is done. It's not in grading anymore. So because it's in done mode, then that's why you can't grade it anymore.
Yeah, so that's all I have. I love Edulastic so much, and I know it saves me tons of time. I wonder what fraction of that, what did you say, 250 years or something?
Yeah.
Is my portion that it saved me. But it's like every time I go to make a lesson more fun and digital, like Edulastic is always the thing that helps me do it for my kids and for me, like making the best question types and I have so many options and features for how I should assign it to them and what feedback they'll get and when they get that feedback. So yeah, that's probably all I have.